Hello everyone and welcome to our community Right Education. I am Shilpy Gautam and I'll be your mentor for this exclusively free course on Linux automation with Ansible. So in last class we have discussed about the fundamentals of Ansible, like what is Ansible and like Ansible is configuration management tool, and configuration management can be done with two ways, right? Management, and it can be done in two ways. One manual, and another is automation, right? So for automation, again there were two ways. One will imperative language, okay, and second was declarative language. So we don't use manual ways because it will cause human error. Also it will be time taking, okay. So we don't prefer due to all those things, and it will be manual also, okay. So due to these things we don't prefer manual ways, and we started using automation. So under automation, again there is two way. What is imperative language? So imperative language means scripting and all. So scripting can be done in many languages, like Python script, bash script, and in Perl language and all, okay. But in scripting, it won't be effective, because in scripting again it will be hard coded, because in scripting we have to tell what to do and again how to do. So as soon as we'll mention how to do, so it will be hard coded, because how to do means we have to manually type all the commands there. So let's say first we had CentOS version. One second. CentOS version 7. Okay. Well, CentOS 7. So in CentOS 7 there were some commands that got changed now. So in CentOS 8 those commands are not there, and there are some other commands in CentOS 8. So if we will write script for CentOS 7, then it won't work in CentOS 8. So we have to change that script again. So as soon as we'll change the script, so it might create some errors or some bugs. So due to those things we stopped using, means we don't prefer to use script, and we started using declarative language. So in declarative language we just need to mention what to do. Means whatever the system we want to configure, okay, whatever the system we want to configure, it will itself get to know that this is this system and this is this version, like version 7 or version 8 of the system. Accordingly it will get to know that for version 7 the command was this, and for version 7 the command has changed and new command is something else. So it will use the new command itself. So it won't be hard coded. So it will work for all the systems, and means in heterogeneous system also. So declarative language is supported by some of the tools. Those are Ansible first, and some more tools supports declarative language, that is Ceph and Puppet, and some more tools are there which supports declarative language. But among Ceph, Ansible, Puppet also, we are using Ansible only. Because I told in last class also Ansible is agentless, means we don't need to install Ansible software in all the nodes, means in all the systems. Just in controller node we have to install Ansible software, and in other we don't need to. But if we'll go for Ceph and Puppet, we have to install the software in all the systems. So it will be like a multi-node system, okay. So we have to maintain all the systems. And also the most important thing is, in Ceph and Puppet we need to have knowledge of Ruby, okay. So it will be a bit difficult and we have to learn this language explicitly, but in Ansible we don't need to learn any difficult language. It will just use YAML language, which is very easy. It is similar to English language, normal English language. So it is very easy to learn YAML. So Ansible is easy to learn, Ansible is agentless. So we prefer Ansible over Ceph and Puppet, right? Now in last class we were doing Ansible lab setup for practicing. So as I told, so in last class we have discussed the architecture of Ansible also. So we need one controller node and many more managed node, right? But for practice we'll take 3 managed node for starting, and these all will be CentOS only. We can use other operating systems also, like we can use Fedora, we can use Ubuntu and Red Hat, whatever, but Red Hat is not free, so for now we won't use Red Hat, but Fedora and Ubuntu also we can use. But for now we'll use CentOS only, and as the use case will come, we'll use Fedora and Ubuntu and whatever for showing the demonstration. We'll use these systems also. So let's go for installation part of these systems. So for using like local lab, we can have VMware and Oracle VirtualBox. So I'll prefer Oracle VirtualBox only. So if someone wants to do in VMware, they can do, but I'll do on Oracle VirtualBox only. So here first you can go to internet and just search for Oracle VirtualBox. We'll get the link for Oracle VirtualBox. So this is the first link, and from here we can go and we can download the Oracle VirtualBox, right? Yeah, so for Windows host, from here we can install, but I already have, so I won't install it. Then after downloading, we can just do installation part of that, and after installation we'll get this type of screen, but you won't have these systems here. So it will be empty in your system. So for creating this type of system, just go to new, and here we have to mention, I have discussed all these things in last class also, so mention just whatever name we want to mention. So I have given CentOS, and make sure that you are changing the drive here. You can keep C drive also, but it will take your space and it will make your system slow. So one more requirement is that you should have 2 CPU and at least 4 GB RAM for this practice, and keep it D drive. Then CentOS, so it is Linux, so it has already selected, and we can either choose Red Hat 64 or we can choose other Linux 64. Okay, then go to next. Here for up to installation, just make it to at least 2 GB. And after installation, we can again reduce it to 300 MB or 500 MB, whatever. Means we can reduce it. So we'll dynamically allocate it, and increase the hard disk size. At least keep it 20 GB. So it came. So after it came, go to setting. And from here, change this to USB tablet. So you won't have any issue in moving your mouse. So change it to USB tablet, and in storage, add it is like USB. So add CentOS image. So I am already having CentOS image, but you might not have. For CentOS, just press CentOS here. So CentOS project will come. CentOS Linux we want, so go to CentOS Linux, and here it is showing many more architecture. So Oracle VirtualBox supports x86 _64. So go to this, and here many more image is there, ISO is there. So whatever you want, you can just select. So I am typing the first one. Again here so many ISOs are there. This is the best, but this is GUI, and this is the best, but it is of 10 point something GB. So you might face difficulty while downloading this big. So simply download this. It is of 780 something MB. So download this ISO. I already have, so I won't download it. So after downloading, go here, and from here choose virtual optical disk file, and wherever you have downloaded, select that location. I have already selected, so it is coming here. So I am just selecting it here and I'll press OK. I have done everything. Now I'll start it. I have started, but it will take some time. So meanwhile, we'll see some more concepts. Okay. So yeah. So Ansible. We have discussed the basics of Ansible. Now, how Ansible is working. So as I have discussed in last class, architecture of Ansible, that one controller node will be there and many more managed node will be there. So how controller node goes to managed nodes and managed node, and how it does all the configuration. So in Linux there is a concept for remote login. So we can do remote login with the help of SSH, right? So if controller node wants to do something on managed node, then managed node can be either Linux or Windows, okay? But we won't discuss Windows here. For Windows, the protocol controller node uses is WinRM, but we won't use it here. So, and by default the protocol controller node use is SSH, okay? So either we can mention this protocol or it is by default. So even if we won't mention, it doesn't matter, okay? So first thing, to go to managed node, controller node has to know which protocol it has to use, that is SSH, okay, protocol. Also in which system it has to go, that means it either host name or host IP, okay, host IP or host name we have to tell. Or after going to that host name, in which user it has to go and do configuration. So about the username, which user it has to go, and also the password of that system, okay? So these things are mandatory that controller node has to know to go to managed node, right? So we have to tell all these things to controller node. So where we can mention these things. So there is a file in controller node, that is inventory file, okay? There is a file in controller node, inventory file. In this file is like database. This file is like database for IPs or for host names. You can say this file is like database for hosts. So in this file we have to mention all the hosts that these all are the hosts we want to get configured, right? So I'll show it. So let's say what is the progress. Okay, so it is starting only, it is getting installed only. So I have already I have already installed and created the local lab. So let's go there and start doing. So I have installed 4 systems. As I said, we'll use the architecture as one controller node and 3 managed node. So here I have used 2 managed node only. So one I can also do that, and I'll show it later. So for that, first I have one controller node. We'll start this controller node, and meanwhile I will tell that in controller node, first we'll go to that controller node, and to use Ansible we have to install a software, that is Ansible software itself. But for Ansible software we already know that in CentOS, if it is Red Hat, then we have to create a repository and we have to configure yum. But as it is CentOS, so it already has configured yum already configured, so we need not to configure yum. But for Ansible we need the software, and the configured yum in CentOS doesn't have Ansible, so we have to install extra software for CentOS, that is Apple release. So first we will install this software Apple release, then from this software we'll install Ansible. Okay, so let's check whether it is got started or not. And also we can check that whether we have the software or not, Ansible install or not, with a command Ansible hyphen version. With this command we can check that Ansible is installed or not. Okay, so well, it is coming. I think it should come now. Yeah, so let's check the installation part here first. So English, United States, and just press continue and be patient. It might take some time, so be patient. Yeah, so this has come. Just press done. Kdump is enabled, so disable this. Connect the network. Just press done. And it is grayed out, so it will itself select the media for installation. So meanwhile we'll enable root. For enabling root we have to give password. Okay, and confirm that password. After that press done 2 times and wait for some time while it is choosing. So it has already chosen the closest mirror. Then go for software selection. So if we'll go for workstation, it will be GUI based, means graphical, but we don't need graphical here because it will have many more software, so it will make our system bulky. And if your system is 4 GB or less, so it will hang your system. But if it is 8 GB or 16 GB, then you can go for workstation. But here we'll go for minimal install only. Both will be same, no difference, but in minimal install we'll get just kernel. So kernel is like it is a different, like it is a long topic, but here kernel like will get command prompt only in minimal installation, and in workstation we'll get everything like operating system. So we need here kernel only, so minimal install, then done, and begin installation. So it will take some time. So and as soon as it will get installed, we have to do some procedures, so I'll show in this lecture only. So let it get installed. By the meantime we'll log in the system, root user only, then give password. It got logged in, and now we'll check whether Ansible is installed or not. So for that I told that command is Ansible hyphen version. So here it is showing that Ansible command not found, means it is not installed. So in order to install Ansible, I said first we have to configure Apple release. Okay, so yum install Apple release. If it would be Red Hat, then we have to configure means yum separately, and for Apple release we have to install it software with wget or whatever. So here we can directly install. And it got installed. As it got installed, now we'll install Ansible. So yum install Ansible, right? So while installing Ansible, we can see here that it installs many more software. That is, first it will check whether Python is installed and set up or not, and also SSH pass because here I said that here I said that for doing SSH we need to mention SSH protocol and hostname, IP, user and password. So for password we have to it should have one software, that is SSH pass. So here we can say that we can see that first here we can see all the Python 3 and everything it is installing. Then again it will ask for whether you want to continue this process or not. We will just say yes. and it will install all the dependencies. So we can do this installation of Ansible with pip3 also, because I already have discussed that Ansible is a Python library. So we must have Python in all the manage node and controller node. Python is must because it is a Python library. So we can install Ansible with pip3 also. But if we will install Ansible with pip3, then it will be like a manual process. So we have to install its dependencies separately. And here we can see that SSH pass is there, and Ansible software it is installing after doing Python 3 related thing. Okay, so if we'll go with pip3, then we have to install SSH pass separately. We have to create all the files manually and separately. It won't come with the pip3. So for easy process, easy way, we are installing it with yum only. Okay, so as soon as it will get installed, we can check it with Ansible -- version, and it will show that show the version of Ansible and show the version of Python which it is using, and we'll get to know that yes, it is installed, right? So now let it get installed. Okay, let it get installed. Now we'll see that where we have to mention these things like username, password, and host name, host and SSH protocol and everything. So as I said, we are supposed to mention these things in inventory. So in Ansible, as we have installed Ansible with yum, so we will get default inventory for Ansible. So the location of default inventory is /etc/ansible/hosts. This is the file where Ansible inventory is present, but this is the default file, and we are not preferred to use this file because it is the default file. So if there will be many things in that file, and if we will make some changes and if we make some error in that file, if we make some instead of writing something, we'll add something and it will cause error, so it will corrupt our Ansible software, it will corrupt the working of our software. So we are not supposed to mention our we are not supposed to use this file directly. Instead of using this file directly, we can copy this file somewhere else. And from there we can use it as inventory, right? And so as I said, in this file we have to mention the host's name. Okay, so let's check whether Ansible got installed or not. Okay, so Ansible got installed. Now let's check whether it got installed or not. So for that, again, yes, so it is showing that Python version 3.6.8 it is using, and Ansible version 2.9.27 it is using. Okay, so I said that there is an inventory file /etc/ansible/host file, so it uses that as a inventory. So let's go to that file. So this is the file. Here we can see that many things are there. So if we'll make some error in this file, then it might affect the working of Ansible. Okay, so we won't use this file directly. So where we can keep this file, where we can copy this file, so for that we'll discuss it now. But here we can see that as we have opened it with the vi, so it is not looking cool. So we'll install vim also. Let it get installed. So for inventory, there are many locations that we can keep this inventory file. So this is the default inventory location. Okay, and we can keep this inventory anywhere but wherever we will keep this inventory, we have to mention this inventory while running any command. Okay, we have to mention the inventory while running any command. And inventory, there can be two format for inventory. Okay, first is INI format and second is YML format. So YML is easy, but for this, like for writing inventory, INI is means more easy. So we'll use INI for writing inventory. So inventory file can have either .ini extension or .yml extension, or we can keep .txt extension also, or even if we won't keep any extension for these file, it won't affect. So inventory file need not to have any extension. Okay, so we can create this file anywhere. So let's create this file. And it is a good practice that if we want to use Ansible, so first create a directory that is called working directory, and in that directory we'll keep all the files related to Ansible. Okay, so whatever playbook we'll create, so we'll see in later classes that what is playbook and how to create that. So whatever playbook we'll create and inventory file and all things related to that, we can create in separate folder. So let's create a working directory, name workspace. Okay, then switch to workspace. So here we can create our inventory. So we can create our inventory, or we can just copy that file to this location. But that file has many more things, so it might confuse us. So better we can create our inventory independently. So let's create the inventory with the name inventory itself. We can create it with any name like ip.txt or host name, or whatever name we want to give, we can give to our inventory. So I am creating it with inventory name only. Okay, so press I for editing this file because it is a Vim file. For Vim and VI we have to press I for editing this file, and we can directly mention the name of our managed hosts. Okay, so let's say one is server A, second is server B. Okay, and save this file simply. Now we can check that do we have any host name, do we have any managed host in our inventory or not. So we can check it with Ansible all -- list hosts. Okay, so we'll see that it is throwing error and it is showing that you don't have any hosts. Okay, so yeah, it is showing that you don't have any host. Why? Because how Ansible will get to know that I am using this inventory. So for that, again, Ansible is having one configuration file, and in that configuration file we have to mention that this is my inventory and you have to take the name of managed host from this inventory. Okay, so the concept of configuration file came into picture, and every tool has its configuration file, and in configuration file we have to mention all the settings related to that tool. Sorry. So configuration file, in this file we have to tell all the settings related to, here it is configuration file for Ansible, so we have to tell all the settings related to Ansible, and we have to tell that what user privilege we want to give. Okay, so in this file there is two main section, that is one is default and second is privilege, user privilege. Okay, so these two sections will be there in this file, and we can edit it according to our use. Okay, so which configuration file it is using, so we can check it simply with Ansible hyphen version. We can see that as soon as we will use Ansible hyphen version, it will show which configuration file it is using. So here we can see that it is using etc ansible.cfg. This file it is using. Okay, so we'll go to this file. So in this file we can see that one default is there. Okay, in this section there are something mentioned like ask password, sudo user, and remote user, and everything is there. And there will be one more section, that is privilege. It will be at the bottom of this file. So this is privilege escalation. Okay, so here we have to mention that while going to that managed node, which user we want to log in, and if we want to log in another user, then do we want to give it as sudo power, and if yes, then we have to mention it here. And do we want to ask for password, because in normal if we'll see that while using sudo it asks for password, so do we want it to ask for password or not? So we have to mention all these things in privilege escalation part, and other things like which user we want to log in and everything, we have to mention that in defaults. Okay, so this is the default configuration file, but again it is not preferred to use this configuration file, because this is a configuration file and the working of Ansible depends on this file. So if any issues will happen in this file, then it will corrupt the working of Ansible. So we are not supposed to use this file. Then which file will use as configuration file? Okay, so for configuration there are 3 locations where we can find our configuration file. So configuration file can be present at etc ansible. One Ansible file can be this file. Okay, but this is known as global configuration file. Okay, this is global configuration file, and it is not preferred to use this file. And one more location for file is ansible.cfg. so this is like in home directory hidden file will be there named ansible.cfg. so this is again the configuration file of and configuration file for Ansible, and this is known as personal configuration file, and it is also not preferred to use in local. Like for local it is not preferred to use. So the main configuration file that is preferred to use is in whatever workstation or whatever working directory we are using. In that we have to create a configuration file with the same name ansible.cfg, and we have to mention all of our use case in this file. Okay, so this is also known as local configuration file, and in that file we have to mention our use case, our needs. Okay, so either we can duplicate this file, okay, so either we can duplicate this file to this location, or we can create our own separate file with whatever use case we want. Okay, so this is the concept of configuration file. So now we'll go to system again, and we want to run some commands, like, so first we'll see the concept of inventory. Okay, so for inventory, yes, for inventory it was not showing that these hosts we have mentioned, so we have to create a configuration file here itself. So what was the name which preferred is vim, and sorry, with vim we'll create ansible.cfg. okay, so just enter I, press I, then defaults and privilege escalation, two sections we have to mention in this configuration file. So first, defaults. Under defaults we have to mention the place where our inventory is located. So for that we'll just what name we have created is inventory only. So location is in working directory only we have created inventory. So dot for working directory we use dot, and in dot we are using inventory file as inventory, and just save it. Let's check whether inventory file is there or not. Yes, inventory file is there. So now check that it is showing all the managed host or not. So yes, here we can see that it is showing two hosts, server A and server B, but we have used these names randomly, so there is no server like server A and server B. So if we'll try to do any configuration in these systems, it will throw error because there is no system like server A and server B. So let's try doing something. So there's a very simple module for Ansible, that is ping. So what it is, I'll explain in detail later on. So let me do it now. Ansible all -m ping. So Ansible all means whatever managed host we have, we want to do this in all the managed host. Okay, so it is throwing error, and it is showing that we are not able to do SSH in these systems because these are there is no system like server A and server B, so it is not able to do SSH in that system. So let me start some more system and write the real address of that system. Okay, so we'll start these managed node now. I'll start both the managed node, and let me check. So it is installed now. So after install, don't reboot it, just cross it, power off this machine. So we have powered off, and which system we have installed? We have installed this system. We have installed this CentOS, right? So now go to setting of the system, and we have given 2 GB RAM, so we don't need 2 GB RAM, so we can reduce it to, so let's reduce it to 600 MB only. And most important, change the priority of boot order. Earlier we installed it on floppy only because we had disk image in floppy. Now as it got installed already on hard disk, so we'll start from hard disk, because again if we'll start from floppy, then again every time it will do installation process. So it is already installed in hard disk, so we'll start from hard disk only now. Okay, so we have changed the boot order to hard disk. Now we can start the system simply. Okay, So here it is getting started, and whatever pass so just press enter. This is for installation process. I think you might get some videos also for installation. So it is showing these types of errors, so don't get confused in these type of, this is not error, this is starting process only, booting process. So okay, while it is getting installed, let me go to other system. Okay, so it has already installed. So again it is showing login, so just press whatever user you have. So we have, so for now we have root user only, so we'll give root and whatever password we have created. So I have created this password, so I have logged in, and we can do whatever we feel like in this system. Okay, so in the same way you can also install one system, and after installation if we want to do something we can do. And if we want like here we need 3 system or 4 system, so one system got installed, then go power off that system and go back to that system again and duplicate the system, because we need 3 systems. So it will be somewhat lengthy to and time taking also to again and again install that system. So better, okay, sorry. So we have installed this system, simply right click it and go to clone and change the name of this system as it was sent to us, and we want to create manage node, so simply we can create manage node 1, manage node 2 and whatever we want to. So let me keep it at mn3 and change this option to generate a new MAC address, because it is a new system, so it should have new MAC address, and press next. And full clone we want, so just press full clone and it will clone it. So we don't need to worry, it will clone it and we'll get one more system like this. And in same way like I have got 3 system, you can also get you can also clone it to 3 systems. So from this CentOS we have cloned a system, so one more system will come from that system, again you can clone one system, and in this same way you can create 3 or 4 system. Even if it is 3 or 4 system, it won't hang your system, because it is, we have done minimal installation, so we are not installing many software with system, it will get just kernel sort of thing. So we can use 3 or 4 or 5 system also at a time. Okay, so here I have started 3 systems, so let it get done in background. And this is our controller node, and this is our manage node 1, manage node 2, and this is our manage node 1. Okay, so for inventory we need its IP address, so first we have to log in, type the password for this system. Again I have to log in, password, and check the IP address with ifconfig command. Okay, so IP address, it is showing me, it is not showing me here, okay, it is showing me here, that is 172.30 and 9. Okay, this is the IP address, it is showing me here 172.30 9, and okay, so I have pressed wrong password. Here also we'll check ifconfig, IP address with ifconfig 172.30 9 and 1, it is 1 and it is 2. Okay, so now we'll go to this and we'll change the inventory file. Sorry, I forget the IP. 39.30.91 and 172.30.9.2. Now again let's try to do ping. Again it will fail. It is not failing, but it is asking me that you want to do SSH. Yes, I want to do, but again it failed. Why? Because we have not given any password to this, so it got failed. Okay, so for that, as I said, for SSH we need password, so we have to mention its password somewhere, or we have to enable for ask password. Okay, so for that again we have to go to configuration file, and there we have to enable ask password, and we have to mention password somewhere. So for mentioning password, there is a two-way. For mentioning password, either we can mention this password directly in inventory file. Okay, either we can mention password directly in inventory file, or we can create SSH key. We can create SSH key in controller node, and we can paste it to all the managed node. Okay, so one can be, we can directly mention the password in inventory file, and another can be SSH key, and one more can be there that while doing SSH, or while running that playbook, or while running ad-hoc command, it will ask for password on terminal itself. Okay, it will ask for password, but as it is a command, like as we are running Ansible for automation, so let's say we have 10 hosts in inventory, so it will ask for password for 10 hosts, so again it will be manual sort of thing. So this is not a good practice to ask for password in terminal. So one thing we can do is we can mention the password in inventory file, and one we can do is we'll just copy paste it. So first we'll do with this method, and second we'll do with this method. Okay, so we'll do it now. So it is stuck there, so I'll cancel it, and I'll again go to inventory, and I'll mention the passwords. So for password, there is a keyword that is Ansible. We can mention three things here. One, which protocol we have to use while doing SSH, and which user we want to connect, and what will be the password for that. So for protocol, there is a keyword Ansible connection. Ansible connection, SSH we want to use, and Ansible user, we are using root only. Okay, and Ansible password. I have kept it as query, so I have mentioned it here, and for this also we have to mention the same. Connection, SSH, Ansible user, root, and Ansible, password query. Okay, we'll save it, and we'll try to do ping again. Okay, so again it is failing. Why? Because in configuration file that we are using, it is not mentioned that we want to enable ask password. So this inventory file password will only work when we will enable ask password. It is showing that permission denied. Why? Because public key is not there. So we have mentioned here three ways. So one is inventory, and one is ask password in terminal itself, and one is SSH key. So here ask password thing is not enabled, so it is not asking password. So from inventory it is not able to give password. Okay, so it is searching for key, and as key we have not copy pasted the key in manage node, so it is failing every time. So we have to disable ask password. So first we'll stop this process, then we'll go to configuration file again, and in configuration file under privilege escalation, under privilege escalation, no need for here, only ask pass, you have to make it true. Okay, and let me try it again with it working on it. So yeah, we have mentioned that Ansible all -m ping, so ask password is enabled, so it is asking for password here. Okay, so using SSH instead of a key is not possible because host key checking is in. Okay, sorry. So we have to disable host key checking also. So what is host key checking? So we have observed that while doing Ansible all -m ping, when I have done this for first time, it asked for fingerprint, whether I want to enable it or not. Okay, so whenever we do SSH to any system for first time, it asks for fingerprint, means whether we want to enable it or not, and that is known as host key checking. So whenever we ask for this type of thing, so it can ask for only one time. So for our host key checking, it asked for one times for me, that is for 30.9.2 this IP system. So I have enabled that time, so it got succeed. But for this system, whose IP is 172.30.9.1, for this I have not enabled that fingerprint, so it failed. Okay, so I have to disable host key checking. So again in configuration file only, I have to disable host key checking. Host key checking. Okay, now let me do it again. It is asking for password. I have given password. So here we can see that it succeed. Okay, why? Because we have disabled host key checking. So if we'll see that while running any command, it is throwing error, and that error is so clear and so simple that it failed, that just because of it failed because we have not disabled the host key checking. Okay, so again, what is host key checking? So host key checking is like when we are going to any system for first time remotely, when we are going to any system for first time remotely, then it will ask for fingerprint, that do you trust this system or whatever. So that is known as host key checking. So if we will go to many system, like in inventory there are many systems. Okay, so if you want to go for many system, so it won't ask for host key checking again and again for every system. It might ask for one or two times. So for one and two times it might succeed, but for rest all system it will not succeed. So it is must that we have to disable host key checking. And if we are using password, then we have to disable host key checking. If we'll go with SSH key method, then we don't need this thing. So anyways, we'll disable host key checking. Okay, so this is about configuration file and inventory. But in inventory there are some more concept. I'll be discussing those. Give me a minute. So in inventory, we can, like, as I said, we can have many systems, right? So if we want to do something in three system only and we don't want to do something in rest three, then how we can do? For that we have a concept of grouping. Okay, we have a concept of grouping. Here we can group these three system and group rest three system. In this way, if we want to do something on this system only, then we have to mention that we want to do in this system only, and if we want to do in these three system only, then we can mention that we want to do in these three only. And not only this, let's say we have a group of these three and we have a group of these three, and we can have some use case like we want to do in these three. Okay, so we can have use case of this also, so we can group these three also together. So means we can create, first thing we can create a group, and one host can be there in more than one group. One host can be there in more than one group. Okay, so let's say in our company there are hundreds of system. Okay, hundreds of system. From there 70 is for no let's take 50 is for development, 30 is for production. This is not the real data, but still let's take 50 is for development, 30 is for production, and 20 is for testing. Okay, so as these all are for development, so we might have use case like we want to do same things in these 50, and we want to do same things in these 30, and we want to do same thing in these 20. Okay, so we will group it together, and we can give the name of dev, and this group we can give the name of prod, and this group we can give the name of test. Okay, and one more use case we can have that we want to do something in rest 50. In these 50 means in development systems we don't want to do anything, but in production and test both we want to do something. Okay, so we can group these two groups again, and this is the concept of children. Okay, so these two group can be children of one group, and let's say final. Okay, let's give the name of final group. So prod and test is the children of final group. Okay, so let me do it here. So here we have only 2 managed node, or 3, I don't know. Give me a minute. Let's start this system also. Okay. We have started this system also. So we have 3 managed node and one controller node. Okay, and let's take first let's take a use case. Let's take an example for, as we have 3 managed nodes, so we'll take example like that only. So first system name is server A, second is server B, third is server C. Okay, and on the basis of like development and production, what we can call on the basis of work, or I'm not getting that work exactly. So on the basis of work we have divided it into development and production and this is testing. Okay, and on the basis of location, we have divided it into, like, it is in Delhi, it is in Chandigarh. Okay, Chandigarh, whatever. And it is in Mumbai. Okay, and okay, so let's keep this for now. So we want to create another group for all those things, because we might have some use case that we want to do something in development system only, or we want to do something in production system only, or we want to do something in testing system only. Okay, or we can have use case like we want to do something in the system which is located in Delhi only, because some use case can be location based also. Okay, or something in Chandigarh located only, or Mumbai located only. And one more thing, that we want to do some configuration in all those systems which is in union territories. Okay, so Delhi and Chandigarh is union territory. So let's say we have a use case that we want to do something in the system which is located in Delhi and Chandigarh. Okay, so we have to create a group for this too also. So again, this is the group, and this is also the group, and we want to group these two groups also, so that this will be the concept of children group. So let me do it. Config. If ifconfig won't work, you can install NetTools for that, and without ifconfig also we can check IP address. There are many ways. One is hostname -i, and IP address is also command, and many more commands are there for checking IP address. But NetTools, it is required somewhere, so I have installed NetTools. So let it get installed. Yeah, so it is installed. So IP, okay, so its mode is different. Let me change its mode. We want bridge adapter. So yeah, okay, after installing that software, I forgot to tell you, you are supposed to change this NAT to bridge adapter. Okay, so in last class also I have discussed the meaning of bridge adapter. Bridge adapter means we can have connectivity among these systems and also to internet. So we'll change it to bridge adapter. So now let me check the IP address. I think we have to restart it. So it will take some time and it will get restarted, then we'll check its IP. So by that time we'll change the inventory file. Okay, so here we have mentioned two file, okay, and two IP address. But before that, before knowing the concept of group and children, we can see one more thing, that we want, as I told, there's two way for password. One is that we will put the password directly in controller, like inventory file of controller node, or we can do that SSH key wala thing. Okay, so I have already shown that we can put password in inventory file, but without putting also we can have one way. So let me show that now. So there is a command SSH keygen. Okay, so with this we can we can generate a SSH key. Just press enter and enter. It will create, it has already created the SSH key. Now we can paste this SSH key in files, like in managed nodes. So for that we have a command SSH copy ID, and where we want to copy, to root user, and to root user of whatever IP is there, 172.39 and 1, I guess. So it is asking for password of that system. Just give, and is showing that one key is added in that system. One more system we have, that is 9.2. We have we can copy that in there also. We have copied that, and here the system is also started. Login. Okay, and now check the IP. It is in Briz adapter, so it is showing 172.30. So it might show 198 and something, 192 something in your system. It depends on Wi-Fi connection also. So it is 9. So I'll copy SSH key in this system also. So for first time, here we can see that as it is first time we are doing SSH, so it is asking for fingerprint, do you want to accept it or not. So it is like host key checking. So we have not mentioned this in inventory file yet, so it is asking for host key checking. So yes, now password, we have done it. Now we don't need to mention any password in inventory file. Okay, so this is an inventory file, and we can remove all the password and related things from here. So but we can see that here we have mentioned 3 things. One, Ansible connection, that is SSH we have mentioned. So for that I have already told that SSH is by default. So even if we'll mention, it is okay. Even if we won't mention, it is okay, because it is by default. It will use SSH only. And Ansible user, again it is by default, it will use root. In further classes we'll see that if you don't want to use root, then how to use other users. Okay, so in further classes we'll see that. And password we have mentioned here, but as we have copied SSH key, so we don't need to mention any password in this file. Okay, and we can mention, as we have 3 managed nodes, so we'll mention the third managed node also in this file. So the better way and the best way to check whether we have connectivity to those managed node or not is simply run that ping module. Okay, Ansible all -m ping. So it is asking for password that we don't want, because we have enabled ask password. So it is asking for password. So we'll go to configuration file and we will disable ask password, because we have already copied file. So copied SSH file, so we don't want ask password. So now we'll do that again, and it won't ask for password now. And yeah, it did not ask for any password, and it is working fine. Okay, so this is the power of pasting the SSH key there. Now we can do anything in that system without any password, right? Now we'll see the as we have taken one example here, that we have this concept, we have this example that we have 3 system, and we have, on the basis of work, we have divided into 3 group, and on the basis of location again we have divided into 3 group, and on the basis of union territory we want to create one more group. So we'll create inventory for this use case. Okay, 1 second. So again we'll go to the same inventory file that we have, and here we'll create groups. Okay, so this is a INI format for inventory. So in INI format, what we do is we organized all the things with group wise. So the name of group should be written in square bracket, the name of sorry, in ini format, name of group should be written in square bracket, and other things we will write row wise, column wise, row wise, not row wise. Okay. Yeah. So first we'll create first group. So what was our use? So first is dev. So we'll sorry. So 172.30.9, but we'll keep it in dev group. Enter. And second is prod. So we'll keep, sorry, so for second group name is prod. Okay, then close the square bracket, then go and create third group, that is test. So this is the third group, but again we want to manage it location wise also. So same group same host name can be there in another groups also. So one host name can reside in many groups, so location wise we'll also create the group. So let's create Delhi, and again in Delhi we will have same 172.30.9.1, and we are having Chandigarh. In Chandigarh again we are having 172.30.9.2, and one is Mumbai. In Mumbai we have 172.30.9.3. okay, but we have a use case that we want to separate it union territory wise also. So from this location only Delhi and Chandigarh is union territory, so we will create a group with the name of UT, union territory, and under that we have to mention that whatever system is under Delhi and Chandigarh, we want to configure all those systems, so we will simply mention Delhi and Chandigarh. Okay, so Chandigarh, yeah, and we do not need to mention the IPs under Delhi and IPs under Chandigarh. So we might have 10 or 15 system under Delhi and 20 or 30 system under Chandigarh. So we'll directly mention Delhi and Chandigarh, so all those system will come under union territory group. We don't need to write all those system name or host name one by one. Okay, so now we'll check whether it is showing or not. So for that we have command Ansible all -- list hosts. So it is showing all the IP 1, 2, 3 and Delhi and Chandigarh. Okay, sorry, Delhi and Chandigarh, it is not IP, but it is still showing me because we have made mistake here. As I said, for making group of group, it is like children, so we have to mention that union territory group we are mentioning groups. So for that the concept is children, we have to mention :children. Okay, now we'll see, it won't show Delhi and okay, fail to parse root works with my plugin. Okay, let me check it again. Okay, spelling is wrong, sorry. Now let me run it again. Yeah, so here we can see that it is showing all the systems that is in host list. So we have made so many groups, but the number of systems in those groups are only 3. So it is showing me that these 3 systems you are having in inventory, and you are supposed to configure these 3 systems. So if we want to see that what all under union territory, okay, so we can check it like this. So it is showing me that 1 and 2, that means the system that is under Delhi and Chandigarh will come under Union Territory. And if you want to check that which all system are coming under dev, so we can check that also. Okay, in the same way we can check for pod test and whatever we have, we can check in same way. So it means that the command that we are writing here. Yeah, so here the thing that we write, it is also known as host pattern. Okay, so it is also known as host pattern. Okay, so this is known as host pattern. So here we can either mention the name of host directly, okay, or we can mention the name of group, or we can mention local host. Local host need not to be mentioned in inventory file. We can simply mention that how many local hosts we have. So for that again, we can change this to localhost. And it is showing me that one localhost, that is localhost we have, and we can do configuration in that also. So what we have concluded, that if you want to do configuration in the same system, means in the local host that we are in right now, we can do that in this system also. Okay, so this is the concept. And there is one more file, that is /etc/hosts. Okay, so this file is like local DNS, like where we can maintain local DNS. So in this file, let's say here we are using 172.30.9.1. So it is difficult to remember all these IPs. So instead of remembering all those IPs, we can give the name as server A, right? And we had IP2, so we can give it as server B, and whatever 3 we had, so we can give it server C. So it will be easy to remember the name, and we can do configuration on those systems. So we have to mention these things in etc/hosts file. Okay, so again we'll go to controller node, and we'll open that file /etc/hosts. So here 2 IPs are already mentioned, that is for local host. Okay, so we want to give name, nickname, or can say aliases. We want to create aliases for our managed host IPs also, so we can create it from here. So IP is 172.30.9.1, and we can give the name as server A. And we can also give as many aliases or nickname we want to give. We can give here server A dot example.com, or whatever we want, we can give it here. Okay, so 172.30.9.2 and server B dot example.com 172.30.9.3. server C and server C dot example.com. Okay, so we have created this aliases here. So now we will check. Now again we'll go to inventory file. Okay, and here as we have mentioned 172, 39 and वगैरह things, so we can change it with server A, server B, server C, or server A dot example.com or server B dot. We can change it with that also, because now our system knows that with this IP it means that system A, with the IP2 our system means that it is second, like server B. Okay, so let's try to do this here. So for first I am changing it to server A. Okay, and I am saving it here. Let's see what it shows. Okay, sorry. So again it is showing me these three IPs. Okay, so we can replace it with server means 1 2 3, so it will work fine. And if we'll do that server A, server B, server C, let's do it. It will take just few seconds. That is server A, server B, server C. And let's think that we have a use case there. We want to configure all these three systems. Okay, so for three systems we have a concept of, means in inventory file we make groups, right? So we have to make all the groups manually, but there are two groups that is permanent. We don't need to make those groups, and those groups are, so in inventory we make groups. So we make groups manually, but there are two groups that we don't need to make. First is all and second is ungrouped. Okay, so these two are the groups that we don't need to make. These are created already. So all means whatever group we have in whatever IPs, whatever host name or host we have in inventory, those all will come under all. And ungrouped means whatever host name is grouped, like here we saw that we have grouped dev, prod, Delhi, Chandigarh, Mumbai, so all are grouped. So if when we'll do ungrouped we won't find any host, but if we will keep any IP or any host which is not under any group, then that will come under ungrouped. Okay, so again for that we can check or we can run that commands for ungrouped one also. So what in the place of host pattern that I said, after Ansible we mention host pattern, so in place of host pattern we'll just put ungrouped and run the command like -m ping. So it will run the ping command for ungrouped one. So what is ping, why we use ping, and detail about ping we'll discuss tomorrow. And some more concepts are left related to inventory and configuration file. So time is over today, so we'll discuss it tomorrow, and we'll discuss some more concepts related to ad-hoc commands and modules tomorrow. So if anyone is having any doubts they can ask. Thank you for today. Sorry. Okay, so I'll try to again speak those things in Hindi. Link for CentOS we can provide, but the thing is you can directly go to internet, and as I showed, you can directly type CentOS, and CentOS project thing will be there. You'll click there, and some links will come, and you can download image from there itself. If anyone is having any doubts, you can ask you. Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you so much.